Well, I guess it also comes to the same thing too, that when she offered her life for the doctors, to Azal,
Yes.
it was, once again, it's that thing of love that can't be, you know, they can't actually work with that. They don't know how to work with that. And I think the master kind of saw that there was this sort of, he couldn't really penetrate that kind of girl. That didn't sound right.
That really, honestly, I was trying to keep a straight face, but that was never gonna last.
I was trying to.
Hey ho. Hey everyone at home, I hope you're still watching.
I'm sorry, my brain is still a little bit addled from this horrible illness that I've had, and I was trying to piece all this together to make it sound, you know, really. And as soon as I got, this is not going well, Katy, shut up.
It was a beautiful moment, but let's move on. You mentioned Azal. You mentioned Azal and the demons and all of that. Another word I have on my list is Oldbourne, that beautiful, beautiful village that the Demons was filmed in.
Did you see my face now? Look, I loved that story. Working with Damaris Heyman, and John said it's the most wonderful, unlikely friendship. But Damaris and I just hit it off. Boom.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
It was
yeah.
wonderful. I was going through some difficult times in my private life during that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so when everybody gets terribly excited, I mean, it's wonderful and I loved it. John and I he took me off to see all these other places around that area. So we went on lots of excursions together. You know, I wasn't in the pub. I wasn't doing any of that. I was also dealing with something once we'd finished filming. I was dealing with something else that was going on in my life.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's a kind of a mixed memory of mixed emotions, and that's why John was really sweet, and he took me to Avebury, and and so on and so forth. And Nick, they were all really lovely, but kind of they knew what was going on. So
I think it raises an interesting
I fell
point.
over a lot there.
Yeah, I've no doubt. It raises an interesting point.
What you say? I just have, yeah.
In that, a lot of people, because they have fond memories of these things, actually tend to forget that one actor's experience of any given performance may be incredibly different from another because of, like you say, stuff that's happening in the background. We all have private lives that have to continue. Is that something that you find often when you're talking about your time memories on Doctor Who? Is that something that comes up?
Well, that was probably the most difficult one for me, with what's going on. But the moment you go to work, all that goes out the window. But the moment you stop, it's you going to work with a blank canvas because you can't paint over paint. And so I would go to work with my blank canvas, the sketch. That may sound odd to say that, but what it means is you don't take all your stuff in there with you. You have to be totally clear, totally focused, and totally committed, and absolutely in the moment, which, I was. But then at the moment I do remember a couple of things, though. I remember when I was falling over a lot, eventually, and that had nothing to do with what was happening in my private life, just to clear that up. But eventually, who was the director? Oh, lovely Chris.
Yeah, you come to me for these things, Chris Barry.
Barry, and eventually he said, "Oh, let her go. She'll get up again." you know, because in actual fact, that's got a lot of truth in it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
You know, but it does. It has, you know, it has a lot of truth in it, because you're, you know, when you're running around, you know, especially graves and things like that, you know, you are going to trip over, you are going to fall over, things are going to happen. And I think I always like that kind of truth and in something that you're doing, you know. And also, I remember too, John was wonderful, because I wasn't very good in the mornings back then. That was before children.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Children change your life, especially twins. So I was used to being able, if I wasn't filming, you know, if you were in the theatre, well, no, I hadn't been in the theatre by then, but, you know, I just wasn't very good in the morning. Simple as that. But John would always come in and he'd wake me up, and then he'd feed me little pieces of toast. And I remember one morning, he said, "It's snowing." Now, this was in the middle of April.
Oh.
And we had a day of snow. You know, like all of snow.
More freak weather conditions.
But we managed to work around that.
Yeah, absolutely. There was another line put in, wasn't there?
Yes. But it was a wonderful location, and I think it was because it was such a long location, and I think it was because it was in a village that so many people had this extraordinary memory of it. And you have to remember that when you're filming as an actress, you're taking notice of everything if you're a fan of a show. I'm just going to work.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, so it does make a slight difference to how I'm reacting to it and what I remember. You know, people come up and they give you all these incredible bits of information. You go, really? Was it? Did we? And it's not, you know, it's, and also when you are that myopic, you honestly have a very different attitude to where you are. Because the moment they take my glasses away, that's it.
Absolutely. Of course.
But I remember too, Barry had such problems because, you know, you're bringing in churches and the master's dressed as a vicar. And I remember, do you want a little tiny bit or do you want to move on?
No, you go for it. You honestly, go for it.
Well, young Matthew Corbett Jr.
Oh, yes,
My father got OB in the same year as his daddy. And he was an extra, one of the monks in that.
Wow.
And there Sootie's other, you know, Sootie's daddy. It wasn't Sootie's daddy, it was Sootie's daddy's son.
Yes.
And also called Matthew. A lovely young man. And there was somebody said, oh, we need someone to say a line. So I said, oh, let Matthew say it. And so Matthew got his. And so when he invited us to go and see Sooty on the stage, and he said, I'll never forget that you did that for me.
Oh, that's lovely. Absolutely
yeah.
Lovely. Oh.
And one other thing, there was an old actor playing one of the monks there. And John said to me, see that chap there? Because he'd been talking to him. And I said, yes. And he told me his name. And he said, he used to be the most wonderful actor. Brilliant actor. But he lost his nerve.
Oh.
But he didn't want to leave acting. So he took up being an extra. Which I thought was really sweet.
That is really sweet. But it's quite an addictive sphere in which to work, isn't it? So actually that is kind of
to be around other actors. Yeah. And he was so excited that John recognized. I'm going to move for 1 second, but watch me do it in one leap. Hello.
There we are. And now you have a teacup of your own. Look at that.
Yes, cold tea in it. Thank you. Yeah, but it's little things like that I remember very clearly. from that extraordinary location, and how kind and welcoming everybody. And John was in his element.
Oh, I'll bet.
Because
I'll bet.
everybody was around all day. You know, he had the best time.
How wonderful. Katy, I'm going to go with one final word before we wrap up today. One final word, and that word is nuthatch.
My home. The nuthatch. Oh, wow. Now that was, that's an incredible, the Green Death. First of all, such an important story. Way before the majority of people were discussing these problems. Barry Letts, myself, Stuart, so passionate about these things. So it was a lovely exit for Joe. And what I loved too was the fact that the tie-up, I love these things, the tie-up, when Joe first goes in The Terror of the Autons, and she has the whole thing, and she takes the fire hydrant and squirts it. And I love the fact that that was so beautifully tied up in that when she spills his spores.
Yeah. Oh, she's not even grabbed his maggot yet. Good grief.
I'm so sorry. I'm so childish.
Wouldn't have it any other way. Wouldn't have it any other way.
But this was, so I loved the way that arced so beautifully. And the fact that, Cliff had exactly the same attitude to her as the Doctor did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they both learned that this little person was actually a bright little button and enthusiastic. And I mean, when she goes trotting off with her little cat basket to get him a maggot.
It's absolutely wonderful.
It's slappably cute. But it was a beautiful story, I thought. I thought it was an important story. And I think it's a great way to make people aware of something, because you've got it there if you want it.
Yes.
But if you just want the adventure, you've got just the adventure. And I kind of like that way that Doctor Who has been able to do that over many years.
Oh, absolutely.
Is to have two levels, and I think that's stunning, and I think they've used that really well, all the writers. I thought this was beautifully written. It was very, very important to everybody. When you look at the things Stuart was talking about, a world powered by wind,
Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
Don't go there. But, and the things that he was talking about that have subsequently come into being.
Yeah, of course. I mean, even down to things like he's the brigadier eats what he thinks is roast beef, and actually, it's a mushroom effectively. This is all happening now. I have a fridge full of things made from
QUORN.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually found and put together until the 80s.
No, absolutely.
So that was a wonderful aspect of it, but it was also so beautifully written that I don't think if we'd had dialogue at the end, we could have done it. Everybody, I mean, we were all absolutely in tears, and apparently everybody up in the box was as well. I mean, it was, that moment where John just sort of gets into his little car, which was also mirrored in Sherlock, when Holmes is getting married and you see Sherlock walking away, and you can hear the laughter and the music and the going on in the back, and he turns his collar up and walks away looking sad and and it's a beautifully done moment. And when he walks out of the actual nut hutch, and Joe just looks over Cliff's shoulder for that one last time, and you can see her almost torn again. Oh, shall I? And then she goes back.
Of course. Were you happy with the ending that Joe was given?
Oh, I couldn't have asked for anything better. And I love that moment when she's just about to kiss Cliff and the Doctor comes in.
Oh, the time and space warp has got the better of us. Will Katy be back? That is my question. For all I know, she can hear every word I'm saying. Here we go, and she's back. Here we are. I don't know what happened there with the time warp. I can see you again. I can see you again. We are good. We are good. But to be perfectly honest with you, Katy,
you sound like Nick Briggs's doctor, right?
Yeah, so do you.
I look like Nick Briggs. No, it's the beard that I'm growing in isolation. I think it was a beautiful story, and I've seen a lot of endings, and and sadnesses, but I honestly couldn't have asked for a better one. And I love the fact that it completely mirrored the Doctor and Joe's meeting, their subsequent time together, and how wonderful that she's gone on to have children and grandchildren, and they're all named after cities in South America, including the grandchildren.
Absolutely.
I discovered the other day when we did that wonderful, wonderful thing for Liz. That was so beautiful.
Did you enjoy being a part of that?
Oh, yes, because, I adored her. I called her the quintessential Doctor Who girl, right? I mean, I shouldn't use that expression now, sorry, companion.
Of course.
I thought she was absolutely wonderful. And I think it was a beautiful, beautiful way of, once again, saying farewell to a character that, who making that transition from John to Tom was the perfect arc for her. And I think she with Tom was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But I thought it beautifully, beautifully written. But I mean, the making of it for me, with the ladder and the breadboard and the thing. But once again, I love Joe. I adore Joe. I adore Joe Jones. I adore Joe Grant. And I'm extremely grateful that I'm still able to play both those characters, on audio. And yes, I couldn't be playing Joe Grant on audio. That would be, especially as I'm working with, everybody's so much younger than me, and I'm playing 19. Everybody's so much older than me. I'm so sorry, Freudian slip there. That always strikes me as funny, But it's a great character, and I'm very proud to have played her, and I love the character, and I don't think I would have wanted to be any other character but Joe. Mind you, John did actually say, and he said it on video somewhere, when asked, he said, what do the future of Doctor Who? He said, when Tom leaves, it'll be over.
Mr. Pertwee, on that occasion, could not be more wrong in any way, shape or form.
Wouldn't he be so thrilled?
He would be immensely, immensely thrilled, hugely proud, no doubt, and no doubt hugely proud of what you continue to do in the world of Doctor Who, for which we are all massively grateful.
Well, I am blessed. I've worked the wonderful Nick Courtney. I couldn't have worked with them, with Roger Delgado, John Pertwee, Richard Franklin, John Levine, that unit team, and so on. Absolutely fabulous. And my darling John, in my heart, absolutely forever.
Oh, bless. Now, listen, Katy, I think that's a perfect moment to wrap it up. It's been lovely.
That's it. I'm done.
Lovely to see you and speak to you. Hopefully, next time, it'll be face-to-face and in real life, and we can have a Manning hug.
That's just Soho for you and I.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. We'll get the boards off the windows, and we're back there having a...
Yeah, that's us, honey. And I just want to say, this will end, And we will all be back up, and we will all be out there, and we should be very grateful for all of the wonderful people in the National Health, the key workers, everybody doing what they're doing, all the actors. That's what we do. You know, that's what we have to do in dark times. We have to entertain. We have to try and lift people's spirits and give them a little joy, because we can't just focus on the dark side, you know. And I think that everybody is doing so brilliantly, and I'm, you know, so proud to see how many people in our profession are doing so many things for people. And we all have to realize we're all dealing with this kind of okay, but we also have to be aware and constantly aware and reach out to as many as we can at this time, you know, who are not having such an easy time. And I know everybody says, oh, it's boring, it's easy, it's the other. There are people who are really, really suffering for so many different reasons in this.
Of course.
The
mental health impact can be vast, and you're absolutely right. And I know that you reach out endlessly and wonderfully to all of your friends, far, near, and family, and all sorts. And that's a part and parcel of what Doctor Who has done, isn't it? It's drawn all of these people together.
I mean, I absolutely, I mean, it touches my very heart every day, you know, to see and to hear all the wonderful stories, you know. And we also have to remember, we have to, you know, they are the most extraordinary fans in the entire universe. I mean, right around the world, Doctor Who has a very special group of fans.
Absolutely, it's like right.
Feel like you know them all really well. And I think it's really important to remember that without those people, we wouldn't have Doctor Who.
No, absolutely.
And but they just happen to be so lovely as well. And I really, really, really am very, very lucky woman.
And we are very, very lucky to have you. Katy Manning, thank you so much for joining us today. And I know that at home, all our lovely viewers will be giving you a virtual round of applause. Katy, thank you. We will see you soon. Much love. Stay safe.
Go back to bed, oh please.
You absolutely may go back to bed.